Is attrition killing your healthcare business? Find out what it is and how to solve for it. Listen here. Hello, healthcare entrepreneurs. My name is Amit Gaglani. I'm a healthcare entrepreneur myself, and I've had successfully sold my healthcare practice, and now I do coaching, consulting, and strategy work for other healthcare companies. I focus on putting systems in and helping my clients achieve the lifestyle and the type of practice that they want. Let's start by defining what attrition is in healthcare. And the easiest way is think of it as a funnel. You have a large top at the end of at the top of the funnel where patients come in, but by the end you have a very small amount that make it towards discharge and following your plans. So you have a large amount that actually funnels down into a very small amount. So that's attrition. It's loss over a certain period of time. In the world of private physical therapy or just private healthcare, especially physical therapy, owners often obsess over new patient volume. The prevailing logic is simple. The more new patients you have, the more revenue you'll generate. But there's a critical blind spot in that thinking: attrition, as we have defined it, as you guys already know. In reality, it's not the number of new patients you get that determines your financial health. It's how many you keep and complete care with. Missed appointments, early dropouts, and incomplete plans of care don't just inconvenience your schedule, they create measurable, predictable damage to your profitability. In this article, we're going to break down how patient attrition erodes your financial performance, what metrics it directly impacts, and how proactive rescheduling protocols can turn this hidden liability into a powerful profit level. One of the metrics that I love to use inside of physical therapy practices to monitor this attrition is something I call percent prescribed. It's a stat that we use to measure how many patients are following what we prescribe. So if we're prescribing 2 times a week for 3 weeks, every week we want to see, are those patients coming in 2 times a week? I have developed a spreadsheet that kind of follows this. It's used internally in my practices and now some of my clients' practices. It just helps us make sure our patients are following. Now, most of us have EMRs, and the EMRs are great, but nobody's running all these different reports on a daily basis. And what I like to do is have these things at the tip of the front desk fingers, so that way they can see what's going on, and then those stats get reported up the chain, and then we can monitor what percentage of our patients are following prescribed. Now, this helps us with attrition. We kind of see what our losses are, and then you can actually put together formal plans on how to keep them. And we're going to discuss this in a little bit more detail now. Before we go into how to fix attrition, let me hit home a little bit greater why we want to fix it and how actually damaging this is. Attrition breaks therapist productivity and breaks financial forecasts. High cancellations, no-show rates don't just affect the front desk, they create significant instability for the therapist too. And here's how. Lower visits per week, unpredictable flow, decreased collections per therapist. Last thing we want to do is pay a high salary to a physical therapist and the patient doesn't show up. Either they cancel or they're not willing to actually come back to therapy. And there can be a number of reasons that leads to that. It's really, figuring out the nuances of the practice and putting systems in to capture and to retain more of it. Now, we want to think big. What does this also affect? The cost per visit, it increases it. Our EBITDA margin starts to shrink. Forecasting becomes unreliable. Scalability becomes compromised. All these things are because we are losing patients. And once again, the problem is attrition. Attrition is a management problem, not a patient problem. This is where most owners get it wrong. They assume missed appointments are a reflection of the patient's apathy. In reality, attrition is a leadership and systems issue. When you don't do the following, this is what you get. You have to set and monitor prescribed treatments completed. Train your front desk staff on rescheduling protocols. Now, that's a huge one, and I'd like to talk a little bit more in a minute about that. Implement automated reminders, confirmations, reactivations, build clinician scripts for retention conservation at eval and progress check-ins. When we're treating the patients, we want to make sure that we're speaking their language. Why should they come back? What are we going to be doing with them? These are all ways to retain the patient. We often assume as clinicians that the patients just go along with what we tell them, and then they just drop off our schedule, and we may not even notice it, because guess what? We get another eval fitted into that spot. Before we know it, our schedule may or may not be busy, but the patients that we want to see go all the way through the discharge don't happen. Think of retention as the new growth strategy, as opposed to let me get more new patients in. What happens when you fix attrition? Your revenue per new patient skyrockets. Your therapist utilization rises without hiring another therapist. Your cost per visit drops. Your collection cycle tightens. Your cash flow stabilizes. Your patients refer more often and leave more reviews. Why? Because they got a completed plan of care, so they got a result. Now, patients that get a result are more apt to want to send you more patients. So all of these benefits happen when you fix attrition. In conclusion, plug the leaks before you turn up the faucet. I often like to say marketing is turning on a faucet of new patients. Well, we need to fix the leaks before we turn on the faucet of getting more new patients in the door. We need to figure out what are the reasons for attrition in our practice. Now, there's a lot of common things that happen in a lot of practices, and I help these practices solve them. But once we dig into their individual practices, we find out even more. Cancellations and no-shows are a big one for most practices. I'll be honest, probably cancellations more than no-shows, and getting patients to reschedule that same week is a huge thing. So training the front desk on the protocols, the scripts, and how to talk to them is a huge thing that can actually lead to more patient visits by the end of the week. My name is Amit Gaglani, and I'm the founder of AG Management and Consulting. I work with physical therapy and healthcare practices around the country and helping them achieve the practice of their dreams by using tools and using systems in their practices, and ultimately trying to help them reach their goals. I take extreme pride in helping my clients, and I'm here. Please reach out, please like and subscribe to our channel, and reach out to me and just ask me any questions. I'd love to be able to help you.